We have an update on Joe Biden's immigration crisis that is happening at the U.S.-Mexico border. Chuck Schumer wants to cancel $50,000 of student loan debt, and Seattle parents are shocked that when their kids return back to school, they'll be returning with homeless encampments. And I have a lot to say about that. Before we get into our lead story today, please take a moment right now to hit that like button. It really does help push my video out there to viewers who have not seen my content. And if you enjoy this type of content, please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the notification button so you're notified whenever we go live, which is every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for our lead story of the day, it comes from our friends over at Blaze Media. And yes, it is written by the man, the myth, the legend, one of my favorite reporters, Phil Shiver, and he titles it, "As Border Crisis Grows, Biden Homeland Security Considers Restarting Wall Construction Report." Oh, thank God. Hopefully he actually starts the construction again and we can finally fix this immigration crisis. And then after the wall, or at least during the construction of the wall, maybe put back in place Trump's policies, even secretly just do it. That way you can get this stuff under control. But Phil writes here, in what appears to be a major departure from President Joe Biden's initial immigration plans, the Department of Homeland Security is reportedly considering restarting some border wall construction amid the escalating immigration crisis. The news comes as an unprecedented surge of migrants flood into the country from Mexico in anticipation of lenient treatment under the Biden administration. The rapid influx of northbound migrants has overwhelmed immigration enforcement and resulted in tens of thousands of illegal immigrants being released directly into the country, while thousands more migrant children are held for a longer period of time than they are legally permitted in Grimm. So really what was happening here is not only were they fitting migrant children or just migrants in general into pods that were supposed to hold, say, 250. They're now shoving about 400 people into these pods. We're seeing influx of around 600,000 migrants coming into the U.S.-Mexico border illegally in just a span of 3 months. Biden's on track to beat Trump's record of 3 years just in 1 year. And we also have a surge of unaccompanied children that are coming into this country, and they don't know what to do with them. They're planning on spending $86 million, or roughly somewhere around that estimate, to put these migrants into hotel rooms instead of maybe putting our own homeless veterans into hotel rooms. And we got a story on homeless encampments in a moment. But we're spending all this money on people that are in our country illegally when we can be using those same, or at least that same money on people that are in our country legally that have served our country, such as our veterans, maybe spending the money on putting those people into hotel rooms rather than the ones that just come over here and cut the line or just doing what they want willy-nilly. And who knows, some of those people that might get those hotel rooms, again, I'm just speculating here, but some of those people might be violent gang members going under the radar of being violent gang members. You have some terrorists crossing over the border that are being caught, thankfully. So at least the Border Patrol is doing their job, but they are being overwhelmed, which is why this border wall is necessary. It goes on to say, given the worsening situation, Biden's Homeland Security Secretary is now open to starting up construction again on sections of former President Trump's border wall, something Biden opposed while on the campaign trail. On his first day in office, Biden ordered all wall construction be halted. And look what happened. It just shows you again, and I emphasize this again and again, that the left can't think past a certain point. They can't wrap their head around what are the possible outcomes that are going to be attributed to what they're deciding to put in place, whether that's a policy or stopping the border construction wall. Who could have fathomed that when you say, hey, the border's just closed down, or at least the construction's closed down, and we're just going to kind of let you in. By the way, I'm going to say you can't come in while winking. Go ahead and come in, that you can have such an influx of people coming into our country illegally, and then you're spending millions and millions of dollars on these people where you could have just spent that money in the first place finishing the border wall and at least stop the bleeding somewhat, and then enact policies that will at least stop this from happening as well, which is what, again, Trump did. But you have Biden here that's a non-sentient human being and just doesn't have a clue on what he's doing. But the hope is that he's going to wake up and see, wow, I do have to build a border wall. Wow, I actually have to do my job. Wow, I can't just be napping in the White House all the time. So hopefully he wakes up here and smells the roses that, yo, man, you need that border wall. And it's so funny too, right? Because you have all these Democrats and the leftists that are complaining that walls don't work, security doesn't work, but yet all around the Capitol, they have fences and security and blockades so that bad people don't come in and hurt them, right? Psychos. And we're all for that. We don't want people to hurt our own people, but it's like what Trump said. It's not about the people on the outside. It's about protecting the people on the inside. And that's exactly what border walls do. They protect people. The same way that those Democrats, those hypocrites in Congress have that border wall, they have security around them, the National Guard. They don't want to do the same thing for our country, and it shows where their mindset's at. And again, I keep emphasizing this. They care more about illegal immigrants. They care more about that damn vote than they do about their own people, because if they're going to spend $86 million on people that don't pay into the system, that are trying to cheat the system, cut the line where other people paid the money, they're waiting in line, and you're not going to use that money on your own vets that are sleeping out there in the streets, I'm trying to keep it together, but it's so frustrating that you're so willing to take care of other people than your own people first. It's disgusting to me. It's disgusting, it's evil, and it's wrong. There's a lot of things I want to say on camera that I can't because YouTube just censors us all. YouTube just finds any way to get rid of us. And, I have to be careful with what I say on here, but I think my point is getting across here. We need to take care of our own people. Hopefully Biden follows through here, builds that darn border wall. I'm willing for my taxes to increase for that, because in the long run, we'll be saving money that we put into the border wall than what we would be spending right now. So I'm all for it. Heck, I'll take it on a state tax. It's money well invested, because again, in the long run, we're spending billions and billions of dollars, and you could probably track this at some point to hitting $1 trillion. And so it's a good investment for the country. It's a good investment for all, because not only will you be saving money in the long term, but again, it's also for our safety, because terrorists are coming through, violent gang members are coming through, drug cartels are coming through. And I also reported on that before. Through Joe Biden's policies and stopping border construction, he has created a whole nother business. And that business was treating migrants as a commodity. And now it's a $100,000+ million business investment for these smugglers to smuggle people across the border. Or, take toddlers and throw them over a 14-foot wall and just kind of leave them there. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check it out. Got a bunch of scumbags that are sending people over here illegally and not taking care of them when they get here, just running off back into their country for that dollar. Again, they don't look at these people as actual people. They look at them as commodities. Where conservatives and Republicans, we look at them as people, and it's heartbreaking to see these people in this type of situation. But as I've mentioned many, many times, and I know I'm repeating myself, but maybe take these talking points to your friends and family that, look, conservatives, we care about these people, but you have to have these people come into the country in moderation, not all at once. They need to file their paperwork. They should be filing their paperwork like Trump wanted in their home country, not coming over here, filing their paperwork, and then sneaking out the back door, which is what Biden's letting them do, or just dropping them off in the towns. But there's a ton of stuff that I can report on this, but the main point is that hopefully Biden here will follow his homeland security and end up building the border wall. But speaking of Democrats doing knucklehead things, we have Chuck Schumer here that wants to ultimately get rid of $50,000 worth of student loan debt. This comes from our friends over at the Daily Wire. If you're not already a subscriber, please go over and become a member today. It is titled, "Schumer is Wrong to Assume Canceling Student Loan Debt Will Close the Wealth Gap." This is written by Beth Bauman. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her last name right. It is an opinion piece. It says Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on Tuesday made the case for canceling $50,000 in student loan debt for borrowers across the nation, according to Senator. Loan debt burdens millions of Americans, and right now is the time for lawmakers to act. Of course, now is the right time, right? Because you're already spending trillions of dollars. So what's another few billion or a few $trillion just to throw in there, right? Because money grows on trees, and you have no respect for the taxpayers' money because you don't look at it as their money or your money. You just look at it as just paper that could just be spent any way which you want because you're in Congress. Schumer describes getting a higher education as a ladder up, with student debt being a weight down. He cited a number of reasons for Americans taking on massive student loan debt, including the skyrocketing cost of tuition and low-wage jobs that are available for college students. Or you can get a major that's not going to be a low-wage job, like accounting, finance, engineering, mathematics. all those stuff. There's a lot of jobs out there that aren't low-wage jobs that you can get with a college degree. But when you make that individual decision to go into college and you want to get it in lesbian dance theory or underwater basket weaving, yes, you're going to have a low-skilled job working at maybe McDonald's or a fast food joint. Now, does that mean it's a bad thing to be working at that job? No, a job's a job and you should be blessed just to have one. But we shouldn't have to pay for your individual wrongdoings or your stupid decisions. It goes on to say, so many people have a mountain of debt on their shoulders. Americans are 1.7 trillion in debt. 9 million students, former students, are in default on their loans. It gets worse and worse and worse, Schumer said during a video chat. Having student loan debt, according to Schumer, dictates what path Americans decide to take and what big ticket purchases they decide to make. A growing number of Americans' student loans are having a drastic strain on the economy as well, he explained. But what he is most concerned about is the wealth gap that is created. The average black borrower owes more than 100% of their loan balance even after 12 years of college, Schumer said. So this is not only a problem for the whole country, for the economy, and for students past and present and their families, but is also a part of treason that we have such a division between black and white in wealth and income. That's a crazy statement. I haven't read this whole thing yet, but that is nuts, man. To make that kind of claim that is also a part of treason, that we have such a division between black and white in wealth and income, has nothing to do with your race. You went out there and took out debt. White people take out debt. Black people take out debt. Asians take out debt. Mexicans take out debt, or Hispanics, whatever you want to call them. Everybody takes out debt. It is your job to balance your budget and create ways that will increase your wealth. Maybe don't go to college at all. Maybe work for a while and save up and not have debt. But again, the point comes across that you're the one that took out the debt. In the same way, I took out a $60,000 loan. And even before I took out that loan, I said, okay, what was my interest rate going to be? Was it going to be a variable interest rate or was it going to be a fixed interest rate? Did I want to take that kind of a gamble for a fixed interest rate because the economy could swing, or did I want to stick with a variable interest rate? Meaning, I should have said previously, I said fixed interest rate, but I meant variable interest rate on the way the economy swings back and forth. The interest rate could change based on, do I want a conservative kind of idea on taking out a loan with dealing with a fixed interest rate, which is what I went with. But then I calculated, I said, okay, well, based on this type of income coming out of college, based on this type of career, based on my certain type of expenses that I project to have within 5 to 10 years, how long would it take for me to pay off my loan? Also, what would the advantages of me being having a second job coming out of college or even a third job? So I took all those things into account before I ever took out that loan because my expectation was that nobody was going to pay this off other than myself. So you're seeing me again, and I've talked about it many times before. I still do accounting on the side. I still do consulting on the side. I'm a professional ice hockey referee on the side, meaning I go to work right after I just got done doing my full-time job majority of the days of the week. I go out and skate 4 hours on the ice after working a full-time job. Remember, you're going up and down, folks. This is not an easy thing to do. It might seem like it's easy, but it's hard on your feet. It's hard on your joints. It's not an easy job to do. It can be stressful at times, but it pays the bills. And also, working a full-time job as a teacher, coming home, and you all know that teachers, we don't just stop at 3 o'clock. We come home and work as well. And I also do YouTube. So I'm doing other avenues of income where, again, this is all built around so I could pay off my loan, not in 5 years, not in 10 years, but I'm on track to pay it off in 2 years. A $60,000 loan in 2 years. And by the way, YouTube doesn't really pay me that much money. So this is just me working hard. And it should be the same thing for every American, that if you've got to work 2 jobs, if you've got to work 3 jobs, you got to pay this off yourself. You can't expect handouts. The Senate Majority Leader made the argument that President Joe Biden has the legal authority to cancel $50,000 worth of student loan debt for each outstanding borrower. It can be done with a flick of a pen through executive action, Schumer said. Also an overreach of government. Overreach of executive branch. I would be pissed if Trump did that. Does it sound nice for me to have my debt canceled? Absolutely, it seems nice. But you have to think past yourself on certain things. It's not about me. It's about the taxpayer. You guys and myself, if we're talking about other people taking out loans, we didn't take on that burden. We didn't choose to take on that burden as taxpayers. So it shouldn't be our responsibility to pay off any ethnicity's loans or any person's loans for that matter. But she goes on here, and I think she does a great job kind of detailing out what are kind of the flaws in his talking points here. Again, the main talking point that I push is you're the individual. You chose to take out that loan, so you should have to pay back that loan, and you shouldn't expect other people to do it. Also, the other point that's brought up here that I really like is that Schumer's equating the idea of, look, if we cancel that $50,000 worth of student loan debt, it's going to diminish or at least squash that wealth gap so it's not as large as it was, say, before that student loan. But again, they're not thinking about the idea of the individual. What's to say that that person that just had their student loan debt canceled, that they're not going to go out and maybe go back into getting a graduate degree or a PhD degree and taking out more debt because they just got their debt relieved. Now they have a lot of money and they want to go spend it. So that maybe they'll take out another student loan debt that's even worth more interest, or maybe they'll go out and buy a car that has high interest rates as well, or maybe they'll go purchase something. And so rather than getting out of debt, they're just pushing themselves further and further in debt. Also, just because you got rid of their debt, say $50,000, $60,000, whatever it is, that doesn't mean that they put themselves in a major that's going to produce the type of income that would decrease that wealth gap. Say, again, I always make the joke about lesbian dance theory or whatever some liberal arts majors are. They didn't set themselves up to be able to get a career out of college that would help them, one, pay off their loan, but two, also set themselves up and their families for success. And so it is all predicated on the individual and the individual choices they are making. And he's assuming that when you get rid of that debt, that those same individuals that might have made poor decisions, I'm not saying all of them did. Again, I'm one of those that took out student loan debt. But those poor decisions that that person's making or student's making, that's going to vanish, that they're not going to continue to make poor decisions. And as a prior accountant for 10 years, I can tell you a lot of people financially make very poor decisions. That's why there's a big market out there on YouTube for people giving other people financial advice so they stop making those behavioral type decisions. And so Chuck Schumer's crazy thinking here is flawed on so many levels, and it's scary for me to think about, because if he's talking about pushing this and his mindset on pushing government past the point that it should go by just saying, oh, just a flick of a pen, so you should do it, that to me is scary stuff. And we're really seeing how big government's getting here in America. And like I said on a previous video, at some point I expect in maybe 50 to 100, 150 years, government's going to get too big where you're going to have the American people, there's going to be pushback. And we all know what I'm talking about here regarding government pushback. And that's why we need the Second Amendment. That's why we absolutely need the Second Amendment. Not only is that under attack, but also the First Amendment here. And you see people like this. They're in Congress, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, all these people pushing radical ideas, expanding the federal government. You should all be worried. And I'm not trying to scare you or threaten anything. That's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm trying to do is explain to you that over the course of history, government has been expanding. Its power has been increasing, and they're trying to put things on the American people that they shouldn't be. And clearly they don't know how to run things because we are massively in debt, trillions of dollars in debt. And I've talked about it a lot, but we're trying to pay off other people's debt with debt already that we have. We're having to take out money just to pay off the interest on our debt. This is a snowball effect. And we talk about this all the time in finance or accounting on an individual level, is that you can get caught in a spiral, in a snowball, and it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is what I'm talking too fast. That is what is happening to our federal government. And they're just constantly wanting to spend. And it also creates a cultural problem here where you have minorities and also even the majority, say even the white man or Caucasian, whatever you want to call people. I hate talking about race, but you have a cultural problem here where people are constantly looking for the federal government to bail them out on things. In the olden days, it used to be your parents, your siblings, your friends, your family, and then you'd go to your church or your synagogue to help you out, of course, repaying them back over time. Then after that, you'd go to your localities, you would go to then your state level, and then the very last ditch effort was the federal government. Excuse me. And so it's kind of reversed itself where now everyone goes to the federal government, then the state, then the localities, then the churches and synagogues, then their family, then their friends, and then kind of whoever's closest to them. So it's flipped upside down. And that's a scary thing, because when you have that type of culture, when you have that type of mentality to where you are going to the government first, you rely on the government to be big. You rely on that taxation to be high so that that type of ideology can be supported, and you paying off student loan debt, and you wanting to nationalize paid leave, you wanting to nationalize daycare expenses, you wanting to nationalize paying for people's community college. All this pay for other people's stuff, it comes at a cost, and the cost is going to be too high. And what you're going to end up seeing is some pushback sooner or later. Again, I don't think it's going to happen now, but it will happen in the future. But you have people like Chuck Schumer right now. You have open socialists like Bernie Sanders in Congress right now. Things are not going to get better, folks, unless the left and the Democrats wake up and they see that the ideologies that they are pushing are harmful. Not just harmful to the individual, but harmful to the country, and also harmful on a global scale, because at some point people are going to call in their debts. At some point people are going to say, hey, I want my money now. And what are we going to do? Nobody knows what we're going to do. It's never happened before. Who the heck knows? But if you thought the recessions were bad, if you thought the Great Depression was bad, wait till those trillions of dollars are called into play. Wait till people actually ask for their money. Then we're really screwed. And you thought that the Great Depression was bad, the whole globe is going to go down because everything revolves around the dollar. And I can keep going on for hours and hours about this. But the main purpose here is, once again, Chuck Schumer is wrong to assume canceling student loan debt will close the wealth gap. He is absolutely wrong on that. And that just shows you that he's all about the collective rather than the individual, which is why he's making that mistake. Thinking about or speaking about other mistakes, we have another article here by Emily Zanotti of the Daily Wire. She titles it, Seattle Parents Shocked After Learning Students Will Return to Schools with Homeless Encampments. Now, I know a lot about homeless encampments because I live in California. If you guys haven't seen the state of California, I've lived here my entire life. It is nothing like it was when I was younger. If you go to LA, you will see entire encampments, not just with tents, but there's people with full-on furniture, dressers, drawers, lamps, bedding, the bedding frame. I mean, they have, it almost looks like an apartment outside, and I'm not even exaggerating. If you just make a trip to LA, it is mind-blowing, but this stuff is everywhere. People crapping on the streets, there's needles in the streets, there's razors in the playgrounds. It is that bad, and I'm not even exaggerating it. It is that bad. And my parents actually live in a pretty wealthy area. God bless them for working hard. As immigrants, my father came over from England, so it's not like he just willy-nilly just got all this money. But what I'm trying to say is that they live in a nice area, and there's homeless encampments even in nice areas. So it's not just the low income areas that this stuff is seeping into, it's the high income areas as well. But we have a report here again by Emily Zanotti, and she says Seattle students will begin a return to in-classroom learning in April. Well, it's about time. Again, I've been teaching since August. This stuff should have happened a while ago, but it's no shock because it's Seattle, one of the most leftist areas in the nation. But it says, but parents were shocked after learning the homeless encampments located on the grounds of 2 schools welcoming back students will likely remain even after the schools reopen. I don't know why this is a shock. You live in Seattle. This wouldn't be a shock if I heard this happening in California. I'd be like, oh my God, how could this happen? Are you kidding me? They allow homeless encampments to be created in the first place. Go look at Venice in California. Go look at Los Angeles, Hollywood, anywhere in Orange County. All these places, they have the homeless encampments, and you're one of the most leftist cities in the union, and you're sitting there kind of shocked. It shows you how disconnected people are in Seattle. You have Antifa roaming free, your freaking buildings are being looted, lit on fire, and you're shocked that the school district's going to allow homeless encampments to be there when schools reopen? Really? These people will crap right in front of your son or daughter. They will get naked in front of your son or daughter. They don't care. They're not there to police it. They're not there to create policies or at least uphold their policies that are already in place. They don't care about, again, the taxpayer. They care about, clearly, the homeless. Now, should the homeless be taken care of? Absolutely. I'm a Christian. I think the homeless should be taken care of. But the whole purpose of me bringing this up is the people, the residents of Seattle, they're shocked. And they shouldn't be. It's like, it makes you wonder what people do in their day-to-day lives to the point where all the crap that's been going on in your city for over a year, and this is the part that you're shocked about. This is it. It's just like, I don't know. I try to wrap my head around it. I hope that you're laughing along with me because it's crazy. It says here, as students of Seattle Public Schools start to return for in-person learning following the onset of the COVID-19 crisis, the district continues to grapple with the presence of 2 homeless encampments that have taken root on a pair of the district's campuses. The presence of the encampments at Broadview Thomas K through 8th, located, it gives the address, has stirred concern among parents and residents who live in the area. They are outraged that students will be back in class Monday and the district has yet to resolve what they describe as a dangerous problem. It is a dangerous problem because some of those people that in those encampments or are in those encampments are maybe criminals. Some of them probably have psychiatric problems. They're drug users. There's a lot of issues here that can be raised about homeless encampments being out where children are. I don't think anybody's for that. Clearly Seattle is, because this stuff, it's a phone call to the police department. Have your mayor, governor, senator call the police department up and say, yo, we need to clear these people out. The kids are coming back to school. We need to clean up the area, make sure it's all sanitized, make sure there's no needles, razors, poop anywhere, all this stuff. It's not a hard problem. The left makes things seem as if it's so difficult, that it's a massive issue that it just takes a drastic undertaking to fix, when it's a simple phone call. Get the police down there, clear it out, and you're good. I don't know why it's difficult. If any of you think of this as difficult, you let me know in the comments. And also let me know in the comments if you think this is difficult. Them just calling up the mayor, the governor, a senator, a congressman, congresswoman, whoever the heck it is, and just say, hey, we need the police down here, clear this stuff out, get rid of it, get the city out there to clean up the mess, or get the parents out there to clean up the mess. Somebody clean it up, and you're fine. But here we are reporting on this stuff because you got people in Seattle that are just knuckleheads, but it's kind of their fault. It really is, because they're voting in these mayors. They're voting in these council members. They're voting in these, education people. So they're voting in all these people, and they have all these people here, and now they're outraged over this. They weren't outraged about entire city blocks being burned down. They aren't pissed about their businesses being looted. They're not pissed about this. Was like the breaking point for them. It's just, I don't know. Parents and residents want the homeless encampment removed, they told local media, not simply because special education students are returning to in-person learning on the two campuses, but because the homeless encampments have become a frustrating problem. Yes, we in California, we deal with it all the time. We've been complaining about it all the time, especially me as a conservative. I think it needs to be done away with. Homeless encampments are being lit on fire just because of the drug creation that's happening in them, or the mishandling of them smoking or doing something with lighters. So it's not uncommon for these encampments to go up in flames, which also creates another hazard for these children. There's nothing really positive about having these homeless encampments in front of schools, or just anywhere for that matter, is that these homeless need to be taken care of. Do I have the answers right now? No. My hope is that I can read up more on the homeless issue that's happening all around California as well as Seattle, where I can gain more wisdom and knowledge of maybe creating or coming up with a policy that will help these people, because some of these people are, again, drug addicts, alcoholics, criminals. Some of them are just good people that just went down the wrong path, and they just need help and they can get out of that rut. But here you have it. Seattle parents shocked after learning students will return to schools with homeless encampments. The hope is Seattle follows through with this simple phone call, get rid of the encampments. But that is today's news. Again, as border crisis grows, Biden's Homeland Security considers restarting wall construction. Let's hope that goes through. We have Schumer here acting like an idiot once again. Schumer is wrong to assume canceling student loan debt will close the wealth gap. And lastly, Seattle parents are shocked after learning students will return to schools with homeless encampments. So let's hope all this stuff gets resolved. Let's hope Schumer's idea of student loan debt forgiveness does not get pushed through. But that is all the news I have for you today. I really appreciate your sincere viewership to my channel, and also thank you so much for hitting that like button as well as leaving me comments. It is so nice hearing from you all. It is even nice hearing people that don't agree with me comment on my channel, even though some of you say some silly and knucklehead things. I really do appreciate hearing from everybody. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, please go ahead and do so now, and I'll see you here tomorrow on the Bald Brad Show.